Ricky Stark's gone, and during a contract year for AEW, they've decided to subtract one of their biggest and most charismatic stars. That's why Tony Khan and friends are seeing some of their lowest numbers ever. Their ratings pattern in 2024 looks like they took their 2019 average and divided it by 2. Now they have to hotshot their television for the last several weeks like a high schooler trying to cram for a calculus test at the last minute because he waited too long to start studying. If I've said it once, I've said it a million-man march. AEW is allergic to star power. That's why they're not doing numbers, even in the midst of a hot string of shows. Some of AEW's biggest stars have been off television for reasons I can only assume have little to nothing to do with injury. Today, we're going to talk about Tony Khan's history of putting wrestlers in timeout and how it contributes to a culture of complacency and nobody becoming a crossover star despite their potential. We'll also take a look at all the top stars who have been MIA, because I guess Tony Khan fell asleep at the wheel booking them the way most people sleep through a WrestleNomics podcast. Subscribe in Swahili. Ricky Starks has been off AEW television for 117 days and counting. Pretty soon, Ricky's number of days off AEW TV will be higher than the average views for a WrestleNomics video. By the way, here's some YouTube economics for you. The very African Pro Wrestling Bits has more subscribers in Post Wrestling and WrestleNomics combined. And I've been around for half the time. By my calculations, that means it's better to be black than bald and boring, unless you're Tim Scott, in which case you'd be all three. Anyway, enough talk about these stat-loving skinheads, because I'm dedicating my energy to the Free Ricky movement. And whether that means a begrudging return to AEW, or if the rich keep getting richer and Ricky goes to WWE, meaning the rich get richer, you cannot convince me that there isn't tension between Starks and AEW. He's disputed reports about being injured from AEW's amateur hour PR machine. He just told one of AEW's biggest sickos to shut the f*** up. Let's go. You can almost hear Ricky Starks counting down the days until he's up out of there, because the fact that he feels less likely to win a world title since his debut years ago is an AEW problem, not a Ricky Starks problem.
And I think Ricky Starks is tremendous. I'd love to get him involved and back in AEW anytime. He's been a huge part of what we've done here for about 4 out of the 5 years, and tons of respect for Rico.
Wardlow has primarily done 2 things since getting to AEW: start and stop. It's like they're playing red light, green light with this man's career. AEW is treating Big Mike like the male Jade Cargill, and I think he should GTFO the second his contract is up. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 3 TNT title wins, shame on a nigga. Before Wardlow disappeared, they were telling the same old story between him and Adam Cole as they did with him and MJF, where the big giant gets fed up with the smaller heel calling him stupid. Except when Wardlow finally got his revenge on MJF at Double or Nothing, it was big-footed by MJF working the dirt sheets and, quote, no-showing a fan fest, making the angle all about him. And by no-showing that AEW fan fest, MJF let down the AEW fan in attendance. Wardlow never recovered from that carny stunt from MJF, and AEW has tried to rinse, wash, and repeat ever since with diminishing marginal returns. Let's just keep it a buck. You can't be a monster in AEW who exists outside of Dave Meltzer's inner circle and expect Tony Khan to do right by you. If you can't get access to that 5-star stimulus package from Dave Meltzer, you're of no use to Tony Khan. Wardlow's the type of wrestler who thrives on strong storytelling with a satisfying payoff. AEW only has so many of those, and as a WWE superstar in an AEW ring, Wardlow is basically a trans wrestler. By no fault of his own, Wardlow was damaged beyond repair in Jacksonville, and it's time to move on. Sammy Guevara disappeared off the face of the earth and hasn't been on television since February. No Taki Tony Khan hasn't said a damn word about it, leading to one conspiracy theory after another about Guevara's absence, including a double jeopardy theory that Sammy is being punished for comments he made about Sasha Banks, comments he was already suspended for years ago. Guevara's suspension was most likely connected to Guevara injuring Jeff Hardy. This was a situation where Guevara didn't follow concussion protocol, I guess, but we're going on a 6-month suspension because Tony Khan is a master of the overpunishment. Just ask Jack Perry. TK isn't the strongman Vince was, but he's every bit as passive-aggressive, especially with TV time when you're in his doghouse. Imagine if Powerhouse Hobbs cut a mild promo on Dave Meltzer. The nigga would be out for years. Jeff Hardy has since left AEW, signed with TNA, and reunited with his brother Matt before Sammy has appeared once on AEW TV. This was one of AEW's 4 pillars, by the way. So let this be a lesson that anybody can get it.
But I loathe the idea of a pillar because, one, it's a full gimmick and it came from one guy. There's nothing behind it. You get what I'm saying? To say that these 4 dudes are the pillar of the company, you know what you're doing by saying that? F everybody else who did anything. Those people don't matter. It's these 3 guys that we deemed. I have bestowed this sacred title upon thee, and I want you to go forth and do with it. No, I don't believe in that.
By the way, it's an election year, and my new favorite way to read news is through ground news. With ground news, you can compare headlines and stories based on media bias and find out just how much a news site leans left, right, or center. They should invent this service for wrestling news bias one day. But point is, I love this service so much, I personally reached out, they became today's partner, and now you'll love them too. Then there's Miro. If you believe Wikipedia, they'll tell you Miro is currently out of action due to shoulder and elbow injuries. If that's true, get well soon. But come on. Miro is the ultimate example of an AEW wrestler who thought the grass was greener on the other side, only to walk into a pile of dirt and tumbleweeds in Jacksonville. Now he's probably waiting to hear from Stanford among reports of Miro not wanting to do jobs. Miro seemed like he was destined to be a top star during his goated run as God's favorite champion. The TNT title has lost a lot of prestige over the past years, but at its peak, I'd argue Miro was one of, if not the greatest TNT champion ever. There's been a lot of talk in wrestling about no aura, which I believe is Spanish for WrestleNomics. When Miro burst onto the scene in Jacksonville, he had nothing but aura. But sadly, it's been all downhill since then. Miro is reportedly signed with AEW through 2026 plus injury time. That's a pro wrestling prison sentence, and mans might need Stephen P. New to get out of that deal. When Miro inevitably splits with AEW, there's really no guarantee that WWE will welcome him back with open arms, but I at least expect him to make a cameo on Rusev Day. And finally, let's talk about the curious case of Jamie Hayter. Hayter's been hurt, I think, with a shoulder injury for several months now. And by several, I mean over 12. Now, I'm no Ty Diggs from Grey's Anatomy, but most shoulder injuries don't take over 400 days to recover from. Like many sabbaticals in AEW, Hayter's absence feels like a mixture of injury, disorganization, and a crowded roster with little direction. And with AEW desperately hotshotting its TV every week to get its numbers up, I feel like Jamie Hayter's return will be an unannounced moment that favors reaction over anticipation. If that's the case, hopefully they at least do it at All In. Check out this video about the success of the Wyatt Six and subscribe. Have we seen the last of Ricky Starks and or Wardlow in AEW? Whose return are you waiting on? Tell me in the comments!